Hello everybody and welcome to Total Gaming Network and CS Nation's review of Trials Fusion for the PlayStation 4. Right up front here, I'll let you know that Ubisoft and Red Links did provide a copy of this game to us for review purposes. Also important to note here that while the review is based off of my experience with the PlayStation 4 version of the game, the footage is from the PC beta of the game, merely as a matter of convenience. Trials Fusion is the latest in the fairly popular and often unforgiving Trials franchise. For those who have no idea what this series is all about, Trials blends motorbikes, physics, crazy jumps, and for the first time in the series, as far as I'm aware at least, a weird overarching story with sentient AI narration. Yeah, it's as weird to experience as it is to say. At its heart, Trials Fusion aims to do what very few games manage to pull off successfully. Mechanically, the game is easy to pick up, but insanely difficult to master. It holds an appeal for players of all skill sets and ages. You don't have to be the most coordinated or talented Trials player out there, but the game includes mechanics that will keep everyone coming back for more. And as a result, a drive develops to become not only a better player, but to see what new challenges await in the next unlockable section. It is that desire to be a better player, to beat a friend's time, to beat your own record, that is the core drive behind a Trials game. There is no greater thrill than coming back to a level that used to give you trouble when you were first starting out, that now proves to be an insanely easy course once your skills have had time to mature and be perfected. As weird as it may be to hear, Trials Fusion does include believable physics. Are they hyper-realistic? No. But they are at the very least believable in that the rider's distribution of weight is actually used for balance, for bunny hops, and for pulling off some insane flips and tricks. That's not to diminish the role of the bikes themselves. The first bike you will use is slow and not as nimble as later bike unlocks. The Pit Viper is a bit faster but proves its worth by being incredibly responsive. There are other bikes, including the Foxbat for the game's new stunt challenge, a bicycle, and even a four-wheeled ATV. Despite this focus on physics-based gameplay, you would be wrong to assume that the rest of the game is some boring simulation. The opening song sings the praises of the future where man and machine are fused, and how it's light years ahead of the evolution. A bit of a jab at Trials Evolution, the game that, preceded Fusion on the Xbox 360 and PC. And then you have the tracks that take place over a wide variety of settings, such as forests, futuristic cities with quadcopters flying around, AI announcers pushing forward a very odd and even a bit morbid story, things blowing up, pathways appearing and disappearing, loops, fire hoops, blimps you can ride on, insane jumps, tennis, and, well, just a ton more. The humor ranges from lighthearted and almost whimsical to dark in both content and delivery. It's hard to really expand upon that without ruining the story, so let's just leave it at that for now. For as insane as the courses in Fusion are, you may not always have time to stop and experience everything that's going on, especially in the background. Of course, you'll begin to have plenty of time on later levels when you're on your 20th retry of just one particular checkpoint. The difficulty in Fusion ramps up quite quickly. It feels as though the difficulty in Fusion's early levels is easier than Evolution's early levels, but harder on the final levels than Evolution's final levels. That is to say, it's not a very gradual increase in difficulty as you may hope it would be. Veterans will breeze through the first few sections with little to no effort, and newcomers may feel as though the game is boring before ever hitting the challenges that Trials is known for. A bit more balance, or even more difficult medium difficulty levels would have been welcome. Fortunately, even the veterans are given an excuse to return to earlier, easier tracks once completing the game as a new reward level, Platinum, is unlocked. These medals are given to those who are true masters of their craft, with times that blast gold medal runs out of the water. Overall, the track designs, despite having a lot going on in each of them, feel like a step back when compared to Evolution. Some of the challenging components added in parts of later tracks too often break up the flow that was quite apparent and enjoyable from earlier tracks. Even with that minor complaint, Trials Fusion still delivers the content in spades. It features over 40 standard tracks, a handful of skill challenges, some local multiplayer-only tracks, and the never-ending supply of community-created courses. Really, the only major disappointment here is the new FMX Challenge courses. FMX is a new gameplay addition in Fusion that adds a rather finicky and gimmicky trick system to the game. The right stick on your controller moves your rider's legs around and a variety of tricks will be performed. The problem with this system is that it too is physics-based, and the trick performed will also depend on the angle of the bike while in flight. Too often you will push the stick in one direction, only to have a different trick than what you wanted be performed. There is simply no leeway in any of these tricks, which is a shame because it had the potential to be really awesome. It doesn't help that these tricks are completely pointless in anything other than a few skill courses and even fewer track challenges. The risk associated with botching a trick in a serious run for your best time, or during a multiplayer race, just isn't worth it. The good news is that outside of these very specific FMX tracks, you are never forced to do tricks during a level. There really isn't much to say about the audio in the game. The bikes sound like motorbikes. The explosions sound like explosions. The opening song is catchy and memorable. The only real shortcoming are the Homer Simpson-like yells from the rider, typically only heard during long jumps or during crashes. The real spotlight is the quality voice work from the main AI announcers in the game. Visually though, the game is actually rather simplistic. It's not a visual showcase like Infamous Second Son or Rise Son of Rome, but that doesn't mean it looks bad. Of course, it doesn't look all that great either. I'm sure there are things going on behind the scenes that I'm completely ignorant about, but the visuals simply aren't that spectacular here. Some of the effects seem better suited for previous console generations and sometimes look downright bad. On the PlayStation 4, the game does boast a 1080p resolution, and every version strives to maintain 60 frames per second, including the Xbox 360 version at the cost of some visual fidelity. Some have said they experienced hitching and screen tearing in the game, even noting the PlayStation 4 version specifically. I can say that I have not encountered any of that during my multiple hours of playing the game. It would have been nice to see some higher resolution textures at times, though it's difficult to say that without noting that there aren't too many times where you will be moving slow enough to really notice the quality of textures. Now it must be said, the biggest issue with the visuals of the game come from the slow texture loading, or texture popping, when you hit retry in the middle of a course. Low resolution textures are used as placeholders while the high resolution textures take their good sweet time loading in. I haven't noticed it when simply restarting a previous checkpoint, but it is an almost 100% guarantee to happen when restarting the entire track. It's nice that the courses can be restarted so quickly, but it's still super distracting seeing large sections of the nearby terrain load those high resolution textures. The base game is $20 and it is very much worth the price. Even if you ignore the ever-growing number of custom tracks, you're still left with a large number of first-party tracks to work your way through and try perfecting. Each track also includes 3 bonus objectives, and then there are the challenge courses and the local multiplayer. But then on top of that, you get a huge number of user-created courses, some of which absolutely blow away anything that's included by Red Links in terms of pure madness and creativity. There are also global leaderboards and the ability to watch replays of anybody's run. Tack on the fact that you can also customize your rider's look, the look of each of your bikes, and you can make your own courses, and well, you have a tremendous deal here for $20. If you want even more first-party content, however, another $20 on top of that will get you the Season Pass. Not too much is known about this outside of the fact that the team plans on releasing 6 DLC packs before May 2015. These packs will include new tracks, new bike parts, new rider gear, new items for the track editor, and more content for the career mode. It's hard to say whether or not this extra $20 is worth it yet, but if you enjoyed the DLC for Trials Evolution, it's probably a safe bet to assume you'll enjoy it for Trials Fusion. Hope that was informative, and with that said, here is our final review score for Trials Fusion. As always, this has been Zips for Total Gaming Network and CS Nation, and we'll catch you next time.